I want to make sure the residents get their questions in. Don Wilson?
Thank you. So the first question will be for Diane Goldring. Except for when I've opposed release of private personal information of residents in the past, I generally completely support transparency, but I've heard you clearly have concerns about transparency. What specifically would you do differently to make things more transparent?
Thanks, Don. First of all, I would hold ward meetings on a regular basis and let people in the ward know what is going on in the city. We have not had that in the fourth ward. I mean, you hold ward meetings when there's a development or when there's the budget, but in general, we haven't had a regular monthly ward meeting for, I don't know, for a long time. I can't really remember. So I would specifically let people know what's happening. I would communicate to the residents and let them know about my decisions and why I'm making the decisions that I'm making. There are things that are going on in the ward, and I'm walking around and talking to residents. Many of them don't even know who the alderman is. So I would absolutely let people know why I'm making the decisions that I'm making and about the things that are happening in the ward. And I also would commit to writing, a newsletter on a regular basis that isn't just a cut and paste of city newsletter. And I would encourage people to reach out to me. I would have office hours is something, where people can make one-on-one, call me on make appointments to call me on a one-on-one basis. So those are just a few.
All right, thank you. Should I ask Jonathan next one?
Yes.
Okay, so essentially the same question, different topic. We've got a number of economic development initiatives that we've been working on and advancing over the years. I've been interested in, transforming that less towards things like helping landlords improve facades and more towards, providing opportunities for small businesses and such. But what would you do differently about the way that we're doing economic development in Evanston?
Thanks, Don. I would make sure that the work we do to promote economic development is supporting the people of Evanston rather than corporate interests, and supporting small businesses. I'd like to take a look at city procurement policies, working with the purchasing department to give preferential treatment to local businesses, especially MWBE businesses, so that we can keep wealth in the community whenever possible. And even if that means paying a few pennies more for a ream of paper, I think that's worth it to keep that in the community.
Thank you.
Okay, Diane?
Okay, for Don first. So why haven't you held ward meetings?
So when I have ward meetings for developments or for specific issues, lots of people show up for those, which is great. When I would have other ward meetings, even for something like the budget, people don't tend to show up, and that's extremely disappointing. So I would have ward meetings and have more staff people than residents at them. So that's probably the main reason. I think one of the things that we've really struggled with is the decline of local media. So people are really relying on social media and social media outlets for information, and it's a big challenge to get the information out. But at the same time, if you bring 4 or 5 or 6 staff members to a meeting and you have almost no one show up, it's a waste of staff resources. It's disappointing, but it's a struggle. It's a really big challenge, and that's why I asked you the question, because most of the ideas we get as aldermen, if any of you end up doing this job, you'll find out most of them don't come from yourself. Most of the ideas come from the residents and the staff. So it's important to get that input. So you have to try to, like I was talking before the meeting started. I like to just get out and talk to people, have one-on-one conversations, and particularly in the COVID area, that's a challenge. But yeah, that's really kind of the long and the short of that.
Okay, thank you. And Jonathan, recently you posted on your candidate Facebook page that you were proud that you and your family had, quote, adopted Jennifer's Edibles, a Black-owned business. Anybody who's been following my campaign knows that I have been working on a daily basis with Jennifer, delivering meals to seniors, helping her start a nonprofit organization. What exactly do you mean by adopting Jennifer's Edibles? And have you ever actually been there?
Yes, yes, I have, and we did this as part of a program that I think my wife saw on social media to support local small businesses, and we looked at the list, and Jennifer Edibles was on the list, and so we ordered dinner from Jennifer's Edibles every Friday night in December. So I've been there several times. I guess not as many as you. So I think we can both agree that Jennifer's Edibles is doing some good work in the community, and I wanted to help support that. The fact that you're also supporting it just underscores the fact that that Jennifer's Edibles is worthy of community support.
Okay, thank you. And Jonathan?
Yeah, so I guess my first question will be to Don. Over the last 12 years of your experience as alderman, what do you think you could have done better looking back over the last 3 terms?
The first thing I think that comes to mind is there's a tremendous distrust of government on pretty much every level. Okay, and I forget who mentioned it, but somebody mentioned that maybe Ms. Cannon, but something about the idea of community dialogue. We sit at council meetings and listen to people come up, and they talk to us, and we're like a stone wall. So they don't have an opportunity to hear what our responses are to those things. So I think that's one of my big regrets is that's evolved that I haven't been more engaged and involved in that. As I've thought more about that, I'm hoping that we can do something. I've been just trying to do some research on the idea of democracy, participatory democracy versus representative, and there's sort of this like in between level of deliberative democracy, where you have like groups of residents who work on specific issues. So it's not a long-term committee, but it's more of a short-term opportunity to get involved on a specific issue. And those are some of the committee, like affordable housing, landlord issues, things like that. We've had committees like that. I think it's been very effective, but we haven't done enough of that. So I really regret not having engaged the residents on that micro level where they would have that opportunity to participate. It's a big regret, and it's really played out not just here, but I think that's it's kind of a plague across the country.
Thanks. And to Diane, I've seen in your campaign materials and your appearances, you've been very supportive of climate action, which I'm really happy to hear about. I'm really happy that you're supportive of implementing the climate action and resilience plan, the CARP plan. So I'd like to hear a little bit more about what you've done in your own life to make yourself more environmentally sustainable, and also about what you see the city's role in advancing CARP implementation.
Thanks. And you've done great work on climate action. I applaud you for that. you know, in my own life, just like most of us, we all consider ourselves environmental. I try, I have a car that sits in my garage. It's a 8-year-old car that has under 50,000 miles on it. So I basically, bicycle everywhere or walk. And as far as the city goes, implementing CARP is a priority. And in order to do that, really, I mean, it's going to be challenging. The goals are ambitious, and they're the way that we need to do it is we're going to have to put some money behind it. We definitely need to, get someone who is solely responsible for implementing CARP, and it's going to be a challenge with the budget the way it is right now. But it has to be a priority because without climate action, then nothing else is really going to matter eventually. So the city, has says it's at the top of a priority, but it doesn't really have it on the website. It doesn't really talk about it in every policy that it makes. So it's going to, just like, in some ways like equity, we're going to have to put every policy through a CARP lens.
Okay. Wow, those are some, great questions to ask